Hello everyone, so this is just a very quick video to recap everything that we did in my session on blended learning. So the first thing to talk about is the presentation tool that I'm using. It's called Prezi. It is a tool that allows you to, rather than create a sort of a linear journey through a series of slides, it allows you to create this sort of zooming in and out effect, and that's quite useful because you can produce presentations that don't have to be navigated through in a sequence. So here, for example, you'll see my presentation like this when you access it on Student Central. You can go to any part of this table and have a look. You don't have to go through a series of slides. So it can be incredibly powerful for teaching certain topics, and it's also quite nice. It makes things look a bit different. Okay, so the first thing that we talked about was the role of technology, and important we looked at this, the Samir model. What's important with this model is that whenever you use technology, it's thinking about how you're using it and using it responsibly. So it doesn't always have to be that you just substitute current tasks with the same task but technical. You know, actually technology gives us the ability to do things completely different. So just always ask yourself that question, and whether or not you're bringing some benefit by using technology whenever you're doing your teaching. Okay, so the next thing we looked at was blended learning. And importantly, we discussed about the idea that blended learning is a combination of face-to-face and online teaching. And that, of course, can be, you know, a whole spectrum. So some people might do more online and less face-to-face, and vice versa. Either way, it's still blended learning. We talked a little bit about this idea of 6 steps to blended learning. Okay, so here is my 6 steps. And we talked about the idea that actually the technology choice is the last choice. That's probably the least important. What we really need to make sure we do is we identify what topics are relevant to be done face-to-face and what are best as e-learning. We need to get that relationship between the two so that people, our students, understand the link between what they're doing online and what they're doing face-to-face. And we need to create engaging activities to do so that actually people like doing the e-learning. And we need to make sure that we assess those activities so that actually we can work out whether or not our learners have understood the e-learning that we've set them. Okay, so then we did a little quiz, and if you haven't watched it already, there's that lovely little video. And then we talked about actually how we might make content, and one of the most popular forms of making content is video. So we talked about this idea that actually go and have a look first on places like YouTube to see if the content you want is already in existence. If it's not, you might want to create it. What I'm doing right now is I'm creating a screencast, so I'm recording my screen, and I'm doing this using PowerPoint. Okay, you can also create a series of PowerPoint slides and add audio to those and create a video in PowerPoint. Again, simple to do but really effective. There's a whole range of mobile apps that you can use to do things like whiteboarding. Again, I've linked to some of those in Student Central. And also, if you've got a smartphone, you've got a really good camera, so you could just do a very simple tutorial where you demonstrate something, where you get someone to video you. You could buy a tripod for your camera, for your phone. They're very cheap, and you could use that to record yourself. So there's a whole bunch of different options for creating video. The best thing to do is just to get out there and start doing it, and it gets easier as you practice it more. There's a few top tips there. Obviously, just thinking about the quality of what you're producing. Don't feel like you've got to make a Hollywood production. Like, most people will understand if you've made a video yourself that it's not going to be perfect. But equally, you can make simple adjustments like doing it in a quiet room, thinking about the quality of your microphone that you're using, just simple things like that. Okay. So the next thing that we spoke about were different tools that you can use to interact with students in the classroom. So I think you've already looked at Nearpod before, which is an incredibly powerful tool that allows you to present your slides onto students' devices, which is obviously really, really handy for adding in extra engagement such as activities and quizzes. Poll Everywhere is the one that we used at the beginning of the session. That's a really simple tool for just gathering opinion, doing little quizzes. Kahoot is the sort of fun, competitive one that we did. Again, these tools are all free, and the links are on Student Central for those. Quizlet is slightly different. Quizlet allows you to create a series of flashcards and then turn them into quizzes and learning games. So they're really good if you want to create a quiz that you want people to do in their own time. And there are lots of other tools available, but Quizlet is a really, really nice one. What's really important is when you're working with multiple choice quizzing or simple quizzing like that, don't be afraid to try and use the full spectrum of Bloom's taxonomy. So most people think that multiple choice quizzing is only good for the bottom of this pyramid, simple facts. But actually, if we use questions and quizzing in the right way, we can actually formulate much higher level thinking just by changing the way we write our question. So for example, these evaluate, for example, involves us looking at a situation like a question and having to make decisions, but also justify why we think of those decisions. So let me give you an example. So here is a question that we didn't get round to, which is, as you can see, a health related question. And if you threw this question out to a group of students, for a group of students to make a decision over one of these options, there is quite a lot of analytical thinking that needs to go on. They've got to justify their decision of why they've chosen that over other decisions. They might talk about prerequisites. So, for example, the students might need to know additional information before making a correct decision. So a simple multiple choice question can actually elicit a higher level of thinking if it's written really well. And if you're interested, this is the correct answer. Okay. Right. And so to finish with this, one thing that we didn't actually get time to speak about was that actually there's a whole bunch of other things you can use to collaborate. I'm going to point you to this thing on the right here, which is called course sites. And one of the things that we often get asked about is how you can bring together all of these tools in an online area, because you might not have a website. So for example, we use Student Central to aggregate, to pull together all of the information for this module you're studying. If you want your own version of Student Central, you can create a free account on course sites and you can run up to 5 online courses for free. So what that means is you can create a course, you can enroll students, so you can enroll your colleagues, you do it through email addresses, you can invite them, and you can upload all the sort of content that you would normally do, links, PowerPoints, etc. It's also got some really nice interactive features. It's also got some video conferencing features. You can do all of that for free. So that's really worth checking out. There's also Google's alternative. Google have something called Google Classroom, which is again a space where you can talk and communicate with your students, whoever they might be. And again, you can upload resources and information, so you can create, if you like, a course for people to go on and have a look at content. Okay, so that's finished. As I've said before, if you have any questions or you want to run some ideas past me, feel free to get in contact.